Hi, this is Sean Broussard, and welcome to WrestleBeards Worldwide.
WrestleBeards, we got all your wrestling gear. WrestleBeards, hairy men with dirty beards. WrestleBeards Worldwide.
Hi guys, welcome to WrestleBeard Podcast number 11. It's your co-host Luke Carpenter here with Shrek. Shrek, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, much better now after last weekend. Sorry I missed it. Pleased to be back with you, but yeah, sorry I missed a couple of the last ones. The flooding in Jakarta has been a nightmare, a complete nightmare.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the amount of the kind of onslaught flooding was almost as bad as that killing I gave you at the hands of Bad Bunny at Elimination Chamber.
It was close. It was close. It was a toss-up between the two. I'm not sure which one I disliked more actually. The another loss. You're going to be flooding in vodka soon.
Or the actual... interrupt there. For those who don't know, Elimination Chamber predictions battle. We ended up having a tie at the end of the pay-per-view. I made some risque calls that came through for me. I made a pretty stupid one on the women's tag that didn't come through for me. And then it came down to the 24/7 stipulation. Bad Bunny didn't have a fight, didn't have any chaos happen, and I got my 1 point, and that gave me the win.
Yeah, you did. He was there, though. He was there, wasn't he? So, yeah, what were they doing with him?
I don't know, mate.
Annoying.
Well, there's plenty to talk about anyway. We've had a little bit of a gap, which can be good sometimes. You know, give us some ideas.
It gave me a bit of time to get onto our friends, to finally get these intros. So the shout out today goes to a good friend of both mine and Shrek's, Dan Doubley, who's in Singapore, for his very unique introduction to the podcast. So thank you very much, Dan, for that. Should we begin with the news of the week, Shrek?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only fair that we get those news ties on.
Oh, in the floods, my ties got taken.
I've got one on for you, mate. Don't worry.
Thank you.
The news of the week, it's my first news, so I'm quite excited. The first thing that came out of Elimination Chamber was two people who are obviously missing. Keith Lee, number one. He obviously wasn't in his US title match that he won the right to be in, or I don't even know if he really won the right to be in it. He was given the right to be in it because he got beaten down by Lashley. It's unknown at this point why he wasn't at the Elimination Chamber. There's been speculation it's COVID related. There's been speculation he's got a niggling injury. We have seen his girlfriend / fiance back on screen, The Reckoning, but no sign of Keith Lee. And the other one that was missing was Lacey Evans. In storyline, she obviously broke the news last week that she was pregnant with Ric Flairs' baby. We'll get to that later in the piece. But ended up that she actually is pregnant. So, of course, could not fight in said women's title match, which is a shame for her in one way because, you know, I think she's actually done some good things lately. And finally, it was something new in that realm, a new story for the woman. But that said, congratulations, Lacey. You've got a baby on the way. What do you think about those two, Luke?
Yeah, well, I've heard the different stories about Keith Lee. I'm going with more it's a niggling injury rather than COVID related. And I think they're probably just keeping him out to then have him at Mania, I think, when he will win the US title. Lacey Evans, obviously, it's lovely news for her and her husband. It is interesting how they're spinning it into a storyline, very WWE-esque. I doubt she'll get the Becky Lynch treatment where she's allowed to go off and have a baby and fully paid and no questions asked. I'm sure she'll be on TV right up until the due date.
I actually saw a little photograph of her. She was this week on Raw, but she was sitting behind the barricade watching the matches go down. Yeah. So that was quite interesting. I guess often that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
it seems that way.
Second big news story of the week is, on the back of a lot of firings they've had lately with People in the office getting pay cuts and all these other disastrous things happening to the WWE staff, they've signed new wrestlers because that's what we need
They
to
have.
do. They've signed a lot of new wrestlers. Apparently, there's 19 new wrestlers signed in some capacity or another. Not all the names have been revealed. However, some have. And I'll give you a bit of an update on the ones that I know of. So there's Priscilla Kelly and Elena Black, who were recently featured in the Dusty Classic, but they were not signed at that point. So now they've officially been signed. I don't know too much about them. There's Zoe Stark, who again has started featuring on NXT in small capacity. I believe she's a bit of an indie darling. There's Taya Valkyrie, who is probably the biggest name in the new group of signees. She's been the Impact Women's Champion, and also I believe AAA. She's been the Women's Champion there in the Mexican division, Mexican promotion, sorry. And she's also John Morrison's real life girlfriend. So it's about time she came over, I guess. There's another couple of indie darlings. Christian Casanova. Don't know much about him, but apparently he's got some impressive skill sets. Parker Bordeaux. Have you heard about this guy, Luke?
I have. I've read about him. Yeah, I have read about him.
It's insane. He is the spitting image of Brock Lesnar. It's like Brock Lesnar had a baby, and it's uncanny. Like, then they're already going, oh yeah, he's going to be the next big thing. Paul Heyman's talking him up. So that could be quite interesting. And even Matt Riddle has talked him up because I believe he's had some time with him on the indie scene and said that he's going to be one of the next big superstars. Wow. And also there's Bronson Rick Steiner, who is Rick Steiner's son, real life son.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's got some skills. If he's anything like his dad and his uncle, I'm sure he's going to be quite skillful, and we'll see how that goes.
Yep. Well, it's good. It's interesting that the only one that I'm really familiar with is Taya. Again, through John Morrison, but yeah, Impact Wrestling. She was the women's champ for quite a bit. This Parker Bordeaux, he needs to change that name. You can't be a massive wrecking machine called Parker Bordeaux, so that needs to change. But yeah, Parker, it's interesting that Parker Lesnar, Brock Bordeaux, bit of alliteration.
Why not? But with that, I think I named about 7 or 8 there, but there is apparently 19. I'm suspecting that the others that haven't been officially named are part of the suspected WWE India subset NXT.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that's where the other names are coming from. But of course, WWE are trying to sign up any man and his goat at this point in time so that NXT don't get them.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
That's basically.
And what about what's your last bit of news?
Yeah, the last one is basically just that Fastlane, the last pay-per-view on the way to the road to WrestleMania, has been confirmed for March 21st. Yep. So it's always kind of a bit of I don't mean any puns by this, a roadblock. It's not always the most entertaining pay-per-view with nothing really momentous coming out of it, because why would they? They're going to save their stuff for WrestleMania. And speaking of WrestleMania, I just thought I'd throw in there the first official match has been announced, came out of the Elimination Chamber, with Edge choosing to take on Roman Reigns for the Universal title. Yeah. So I think that's going to be really exciting. Spear versus Spear, the redemption story of Edge, I believe 10 or 11 years after he lost the title. Well, didn't lose it, basically had it taken off him through injury. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's the match they had to make. I bet he's kicking himself, though, that he didn't wait until the end of the night and he could have chosen The Miz over Roman Reigns.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We're going to talk about that a bit more later, but yeah, I don't know. I'm mixed on that Miz thing at the moment.
Yes, yeah, me too. Yeah, we'll talk about the Miz stuff in a bit. We'll move into my SmackDown takeaways. Obviously, it's a little bit delayed because of what happened at the weekend, but three big sort of points came out of it that The first one was Edge at the start of the show. I'm getting a little bit bored of these Roman Reigns start of a SmackDown show. I wish they would just sort of mix it up a little bit. Not that he's not very good, but I just getting quite bored of the same thing week in, week out. He basically is Roman Reigns interrupts what he's saying, wants to make clear that he was the main event and deserved to be in the main event. Ended up going back and forth, and then Reigns walked up to Edge and whispered something in his ear before walking away, which seemed pretty sinister. We didn't get to really know what it was, what was said. But yeah, that will probably affect a bit later that I'll speak about.
Did you see what Fox posted that he actually said into his ear? WWE's Fox Instagram. They said that he said "Hail Hydra." It was pretty funny.
So the next bit was Big E coming out and joining commentary. It was pretty funny on commentary, actually. He was making me laugh. And there was a match with Shinsuke. Ended up with Cruz, Apollo Cruz against Shinsuke Nakamura. Cruz and Nakamura were going back and forth. Nakamura won in a sort of sneaky small package win, critical of a babyface. And then, as you texted me that morning, Cruz went nuts. He lost it and ended up beating both of them, doing real sort of heelish moves, and then dropping the steel steps from the ring onto the floor onto Big E, meaning Big E was stretched out following the attack of what had happened. So it was interesting to see Apollo Crews like this, because he's been tempting it and he's been hinting at it for a while, but really snapping and losing it. What did you think of that? Because
I thought it was bloody cool. I've never been into Apollo Crews ever until now. I mean, he's becoming relevant. That's what you need to do. I think I was kind of bugged out by Big E in a weird way, telling Apollo Crews to go back to catering and all this. Like, I was like, why are you doing that, Big E? You're meant to be the good guy, the champion, and you're being quite mean to Apollo Crews. So I didn't quite get that. But it set a fire in Apollo Crews. Of course, we saw him backstage with Roman Reigns a few weeks ago. Yep. So, I mean, we talked about that's a really weird pairing, but maybe it's just the idea that he's getting advice from another heelish guy like Roman.
Yeah, but it strikes me kind of as the Buddy Murphy going to Seth Rollins. Do you remember this?
Yeah. And
Apollo Crews kind of doing the same. I think that's what they're trying to mirror. And as I said, maybe SummerSlam, I think the two are going to come together, Seth versus Reigns. So I think I think the Apollo Crews will be a part of this somehow. Lastly was the main event, a 6-man tag with all the 6 in the Elimination Chamber. It was actually quite a good match. For a 6-man tag, I quite enjoyed it. It was good. Daniel Bryan looked good. Cesaro looked good. Sami Zayn was up to his usual shtick, was talking all the way through the match, which I enjoyed, and I've thoroughly enjoyed him talking whilst he was in the chamber as well. It ended with the yes lock and a quick tap out from Sami Zayn, which was obviously didn't really work in my favor, because I was thinking with Cesaro to win was because Daniel Bryan got the win in this match. I didn't think Daniel Bryan was going to get both, and certainly get both the victories. But then the end of the match, Edge had been on commentary and came into the ring. Jey Uso attacked him, and then Roman Reigns gave him a big spear at the end to finish, leaving as the last man standing, and an Edge on his back after being speared. I thought it was good. It looked like Edge sold that spear for his life. Yep. Like he flew from that spear. But yeah, for a 6-man tag, kind of on the go-home show, I was a little bit underwhelmed when I saw it was lined up, but it wasn't a bad match at all. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those traditional go-home matches, get everyone to get involved and get their business in, so it may look like anyone can win the match. Yeah, and like you said, normally if the guy gets the pin on the last match before the pay-per-view, he's not going to win the big one, and he did.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I went with Daniel Bryan. I don't know why I said he'd be winning by pinfall either. It's like I'm a savant because he'd normally win with the S-lock, but he ends up getting the W, and I can't fault me on that one.
No, you did very well, Shrek. So yeah, that was SmackDown, and then the new format is now that it's going to be the SmackDown takeaway first, because that will be the one sort of most recently gone, and then the Raw one, because we're doing it midweek now, aren't we, rather than our Saturday mornings on our time off. So yeah, let's hear your Raw takeaways from yesterday.
For sure. Well, Raw was pretty good this week, actually, I have to say. I think it was like a big reset on the whole situation, it felt like. We open with Miz TV, the Champions Edition, which I thought was pretty cool. Morrison is really chuffed. He brings out his mate, The Miz, who struts his way down to the ring. And I was pretty happy for The Miz. I mean, he's a dickhead, don't get me wrong. His character, he's an asswipe. No one should like The Miz. And he's doing it perfectly. He's doing what he should do in order for us to dislike what he does.
He's doing it so well.
But Mike Mizanin, the man behind the character, deserves this. Like, you know, he's been in and I think he's really speaking from the heart in this promo. So he says he's been in the company for 16 years. No one believed he could be there after 3 months. And now he's not only got the biggest title for a second time in his career, 10 years to the day after he lost it, last time almost, but also the fact that he's now the first double, whatever you call it, Grand Slam winner in the history of the company, which means he's the only one to win the heavyweight, United States, Intercontinental, and tag team variant, because obviously there's been many incarnations, twice. He's the only one to ever do it. So well played, Miz. But anyway, he starts talking about how he's better than Batista, he's better than John Cena, he's better than Lashley, he's better than Edge. He talks off all these names. And when he did that, I was like, Lashley's a weird name to bring up in that list. I was like, that's a weird one. Of course, Lashley ends up coming down to the ring with MVP. He is kind of responsible for The Miz winning his title because he laid out Drew post-Elimination Chamber victory to give Miz the opportunity. And apparently they had said deal because he wants his match. He wants the match that he was promised. But Miz, playing up to the chicken shit role, he's like, what are you talking about? You know, I don't know what you're meaning. Like, nah, we never had a deal. I mean, you know, now that I've got the title, I don't really need to follow up with that. So I thought it was pretty good. But Big Lashley's not having a bar of that, and neither is MVP. And so, you know, Miz is put in a corner. He says, you know, he's too busy. He's got this show coming out. He's got this and that. So Lashley decides he's going to give him 1 hour to make a decision, or he's going to get the beating of his life. And then the clock starts literally on the screen. So it was a great way to start off Raw. It was something new. And look, immediately, I mean, last week it was Drew and Sheamus and potentially Orton in the title picture. And now we've done a full regurgitation outward. And now it's Miz and Bobby Lashley. What do you think about that, mate?
Yeah, no, it was good. The Lashley MVP stuff was excellent. As was the Miz. The Miz saying that, well, yeah, I made that deal when I wasn't a champion. And now I'm the champion. I'm a busy guy now. You know, I haven't got the time to do it. I thought it was really funny. Yeah, Lashley is getting booked here like an absolute killer.
Yeah,
and the Miz is selling it really, really well. So yeah, it's good. And you're right. Like the change of pace that we've had in the main event picture being Sheamus, Randy Orton, and Drew McIntyre for however long for the last 6 months to one event, and now it's Lashley. I'll say about my other point a bit later.
Yeah, well, I will say there was a lot of telegraphing at Elimination Chamber as well that we should have seen the signs. Number one, obviously Lashley lost his title, so that puts him in a position where he can be in another program. Number two was obviously the conversation between Miz and MVP backstage prior to the Elimination Chamber. And the other one that we must not forget was just when Miz and Bad Bunny were backstage, and Bad Bunny was ribbing Miz on not being welcome there because he didn't have a title. So maybe he's the one who set the fire under the Miz, because he had a title at the end of that night. I mean, it was, there's a lot of telegraphing. Anyway, on to my second takeaway. I can't believe this is one of them because, the beginning of it is definitely only because of the end of it. But Asuka and Charlotte Flair, for the upteenth time, are taking on tag champs Jax and Baszler in a non-title match. I don't know why they're having this match. I don't know why they had to give them a platform when later in the piece, other tag teams are in some 1 minute squash match. That doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, so said match happens. Everyone gets their shiz in, and it ends with Charlotte sort of trying for some kind of, I think it's a super kick or something like that, and hitting Asuka in the face by accident, and giving, because she's, the story goes, Charlotte doesn't know what's going on. She's all confused and she's all bewildered by what her dad's been up to lately. So it ends up giving Jax the victory. This wasn't, a great match by any means, but what came after was interesting. So Rick and Charlotte are backstage discussing their matters in their life at the moment. And it turns out that Charlotte's got some balls, some lady balls. She gets stuck into Rick. She talks her mind. She tells him she's sick of him interfering. She respects him and everything he's done in the industry, and she loves him as a father. But she wants him to stay out of her business so she can be Charlotte Flair without being Ric Flair's daughter. I mean, it was really good. I liked this promo. It just seemed like, and even Rick's banter back was like, he had a point to play. She had a point to raise. It was pretty cool. They sort of wrote out the Lacey Evans storyline because Rick says now he's not the father. He was just trying to get in her head, but he saw potential in Lacey. And then I like Charlotte's comeback. You've seen potential in a lot of blondes, which I thought was quite funny. Rick just says he wants to better the women's division, which I thought was quite hard case. And Charlotte just claims she wants her, career back on track, sans her father. That's pretty cool. I'm enjoying that, but who knows where it's going to go. However, I've got an idea on it just before we continue, because Rhea Ripley has been announced officially to the Raw roster. What if Rick is on Rhea's side in a potential going forward to a match at Mania? How about that?
That could be good. Yeah, that could be good. It was interesting placement. Rhea Ripley being announced around this sort of time in the show. It was a rubbish match. But the Ric Flair Charlotte stuff was really good. I just didn't I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the point about I don't want to be Ric Flair's daughter, because she hasn't been known as Ric Flair's daughter for years. She's known as the 11-time women's champion. She was known as Ric Flair's daughter when she was Charlotte in NXT. I thought that was a little weak, but
it's funny when you say you don't want to be Ric Flair's daughter, but you have a finishing move basically the same as his. You come out wearing a robe, you say woo constantly. Yeah.
Do the knife edge chops, which
you're in a group called the Four Horsewomen. I mean, come on. You don't want to be your father, do you? You don't want to live in his footsteps. Ridiculous. Good point. Well, my third and final point, which is kind of a follow-up to the opener of the evening, is the main event. Now, what I didn't say earlier is that when Miz and Lashley are having their altercation, after the hour, Miz still doesn't want to make a decision. He's feeling like he's not rested enough. He can't do justice to the WWE title. So he says that he'll have a match with him next week. In fact, Morrison offers up that idea, which I thought was quite funny. Miz says, we'll have the match next week. To which out comes Strowman, Braun Strowman. He is not happy about this. He feels he should have been in the Elimination Chamber match. He wants his match. He wants Lashley out. He wants his match with Miz for the title, which then brings out, here comes the money. Here comes the money. Shane McMahon storms to the ring. he's got some point to prove with Braun Strowman, doesn't he? Because he's quite aggro. He's quite saying, you know, you can shut up. You bow out of this, mate. You weren't a former WWE champion. You didn't deserve your right. Point taken. And then, but then Strowman won't have it. So he decides that Strowman and Lashley will have a fight in the main event to determine whether it's a one-on-one match next week between Miz and Lashley, or if it'll be a triple threat with Strowman thrown into the mix, which I'm like, wow, this is another new development. So we come to the main event. It's an awesome big man match, actually. Like, it's something we haven't seen before. Like, Lashley and Strowman actually are two quite agile big fellas. You know, they can move around. They're not boring. It's not like watching Great Khali or something like that. They're actually got some skills. It's all the big man, you know, tropes that we'd expect, and ends with a series of shoulder tackles by Lashley into a spear out of nowhere. Like, he's saying, yeah, it might be Edge versus Roman with that spear at Mania, but maybe I've got the spear to level you both out. And he wins the match. Awesome. And then post-match, Miz sort of sneaks into the ring. He tries to smack Lashley with the belt, but then eats the spear of all spears. He basically spears Miz out of his gumboots. It was awesome. And then Lashley stands on the turnbuckle, raising the title like he's a credible threat to this thing. And I really want to see him win it, which is kind of weird. I don't normally like flip-flopping of titles, but I want to see Lashley as the champ. What about you?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a good match. Firstly, the Braun Strowman stuff I didn't understand. Firstly, why is he on Raw? He was on SmackDown the last time we saw him, coming out and obliterating everyone. They're clearly setting up a Shane O'Mac, Braun Strowman match for Mania, which is Shane O'Mac's gonna jump off something high, and Braun Strowman's gonna beat him.
Maybe it'll bring back Nicholas somehow.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, like the way they put Lashley over and like having him kick out of the power slam, and then that spear where he bounced off the two ropes and then laid him out was good. The end was excellent, and yeah, I really want to see Lashley get the title as well, because he's not like the I love my sisters Bobby Lashley like he was when he first came back. He's like this killer like he was in TNA.
That's right.
Which is brilliant. That's how they should have booked him.
If I'm going to book WrestleMania, Luke, Lashley wins the title from Miz, and somehow Lesnar gets in the fold to have that match that we always wanted to see, Lesnar versus Lashley.
Yeah, we spoke about this, didn't we? I think it might be Lesnar Lashley at SummerSlam, and I think it might be Drew versus Lashley, and Drew will get the win, so he gets his crowd pop for winning the title, which he never got last year.
Or maybe,
but that's weak.
Maybe WWE just surprise us and they give us what is right in front of us, and it's Miz versus Bad Bunny for the WWE title. I mean, don't write it off just yet.
Well, he's the biggest Latino recording artist in the world, isn't he? So
that's right.
He'd look good with that title. But yeah, him standing tall with the title at the end, he looked mean, he looked good, which I think means the fact that he was holding the title, I think means that McIntyre comes back and causes some DQ or a sneaky win for the Miz, because McIntyre was curiously nowhere to be seen on Raw this week. So yeah, I don't want that to happen, but I think that's going to happen in WWE. It would be great. It would be great if they put the title on him.
Yeah, agreed.
Right, let's move into our favourite segment, and I know a lot of our listeners and viewers' favourite segment, the WrestleBeard Top 3. So in light of what The Miz did on Sunday night, Monday morning for us, of cashing in successfully, we've gone for probably one that I got quite excited about doing when we both agreed on it. The top 3 Money in the Bank cash-ins. So Shrek, what's your number 3?
Well, mine is the OG of cash-ins. It's the original cash-in. It's when Edge first cashed in the Money in the Bank title. He was the first winner of the Money in the Bank when it was a WrestleMania based.
It was, yeah.
And he went on to defeat John Cena after 2 awesome spears to win the championship. I've just got some notes here. And this was after an Elimination Chamber, so it kind of fits in with our week as well. Back when Elimination Chamber was at Survivor Series, if I'm not mistaken.
It was, yeah.
It was in that crazy Elimination Chamber where it came down to like John Cena, Carlito, and Chris Masters. It was a really random final 3. You're like, how are we going to be led to believe that anyone but Cena's winning? And Cena won it. And then Cena lost the title to Edge. It was pretty cool. I think Edge had previously lost the title that evening or something as well. So it was another kind of title. So it was a cool night. And it was just the first time. So it was a long time after Mania. I think it was Survivor Series. So we were waiting a long time for that cash in. And it was unexpected. We'd never seen such a thing happen before. Plus, it was at the end of the pay-per-view when we thought, like, once the last match is done, that's it. So, I really loved it. Yeah. Yeah,
no, I remember that one. It was very exciting when with Vince McMahon came out and introduced him, didn't he? I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Like, he didn't say that his Money in the Bank, he called it the Money in the Bank privilege, or his title privilege. But yeah, no, it was a good one. My one is a little bit more recent, and it was the Money in the Bank, women's second Money in the Bank, I think, when Alexa Bliss won it that same evening, and then Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax, and Alexa Bliss came out and with the briefcase and just trashed them both, pinned Nia Jax. Yeah. Obviously, she wasn't going to pin Rousey, but Alexa Bliss walked out the champion. And I think that became maybe a 6th title. Like she's been a champion so many times. But yeah, I liked it because I didn't see it coming, because it was one of those on the night, and on the same night it happened. So yeah, and I thought that was really good for women's wrestling. It set up a good feud between Ronda Rousey and Alexa Bliss, where Alexa Bliss was doing those impressions of Ronda Rousey, which were really funny. So that's one that,
if I'm not mistaken, like that was Rousey's first title opportunity. So I mean, it made us a bit pissed off because we didn't get to see the payoff at that pay-per-view, and it was this turncoat where Alexa got the title instead of what we assumed was going to be Rousey. So it was a thing that kind of angered me, but in a good way. Yeah.
Well, it was also that Jax had beaten Alexa Bliss at that WrestleMania gone. We watched it at your house that evening, I remember. And so like it had little bits interwoven into it. It was very, very cleverly written. So yeah, that's my number 3. What's your number 2?
Well, my number 2 was originally my number 1 until I had a moment of clarity. But anyway, this, I mean, could have been my number 1. So put it that way. It's Dolph Ziggler. Now, how can we put that guy's name in a title picture? Seems such many moons ago. But yes, he won the, I think it was one of the first Money in the Bank pay-per-view Money in the Bank. He didn't win it at Mania or anything. But it was back when he had Big E Langston as his bodyguard. And I think AJ Lee was somewhere in the mix.
AJ Lee. Yeah, AJ Lee was with him as well.
And anyway, he was a heel, but everyone always, and I still feel like he's one of those guys who's been held back because he's so super talented and charismatic. But anyway, he came down in the middle of an Alberto Del Rio, Jack Swagger, and I believe Zeb Coulter 2-on-1 match. It was a really random match back when what were they called? The We the People movement and all that was happening. And bloody Dolph Ziggler's music hit, and it was one of the biggest pops you've ever heard in your life from a live
it was.
It was insane. So love or hate Ziggler, I think people just didn't see it coming that he was finally going to do it. And he did it, and he won. And I think he lost the title about a couple of weeks later through a real lame reason. But I loved it. That's one of my favorite memories in wrestling until.
Yeah, no, here's the image of him where he's got the title and he's just screaming. It's one of the best images, and his hair's everywhere. But the move as well, the zigzag, where he plants them down, is such a cool looking move to win it and then get the 1, 2, 3. And you're right, that pop was huge.
Isn't it unbelievable that that wasn't his only world title win as well? Do you know that he won the title another time as well?
Did he?
He's a two-time world champion.
Is he?
He won the title against Edge, and the reason he won it was because he kicked Edge in the bollock. Oh no, Edge kicked him in the bollocks or did a spear on him.
Yes.
He did a spear on him. And Vicky gave the title to Dolph Ziggler, and he only held it for 24 hours, and then they took it back off him. But it's still an official one in the books.
Yes, I do remember that. But it was when Vicky Guerrero was going between the two, wasn't it? She was with Edge, and then he chucked her off. I almost swore there. And it's keep it PG. And then she went to Dolph Ziggler. Yeah, yes, I do remember that. But my second one, my number 2, is actually 10 years ago, almost to the day, as they kept on saying all over social media, The Miz, when he cashed in successfully against Randy Orton, because it looked as though, and I've gone back and watched it, it looked as though he was going to it was going to be a failed cash in. And Randy Orton went for the RKO, and The Miz turned it into the skull crushing finale. Yeah. And 1, 2, 3, off he walks as the champ. And I remember watching this at the time, absolutely spitting about this. I couldn't believe it. I was so angry. But now looking at it, it was one of the coolest ways to win it. Firstly, the reversal of the RKO into the skull crushing finale looked amazing and was so shocking. But secondly, what he went on and did as champion kind of set him up for how he is now. He was a rubbish champion, and I think he learned and he grew from that to the performer that he is today. So yeah, The Miz is my number 2.
No, it's a good. I mean, it's relevant as well, isn't it? I mean, you know, I can't believe that he's the champion. Sometimes, I mean, I'm not gutted about it, but I can't believe it because he's been on such a bad run in recent times. But
I read a stat. He is in the last year, he has won 3 singles matches.
You're kidding.
3 singles matches he's won.
Wow, that's rubbish.
It's crazy. What's your number 1 then? And when you said to me, "Oh, I'm taking Dolph Ziggler," I almost took that one because I know it's sentimental value to you.
Yeah,
so
well, I've only been to one pay-per-view ever for WWE, and it is Money in the Bank, and it was the Money in the Bank 2016 from memory. I could be wrong on that, but yeah. Yep.
I think it wasn't 2016.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Actually, I'll tell you quickly. It was, Money in the Bank 2016.
Wow.
And
okay.
The main event was Roman Reigns defending against Seth Rollins for the title, former Shield friends. Earlier in the evening, Dean Ambrose had won the Money in the Bank contract. And just like you said earlier with Alexa Bliss, after Seth Rollins won the title from Roman in the main event, then we hear Dean Ambrose's music. He comes down to the ring. He gives, what was his move? I always forget it. Dirty Deeds or something?
Dirty Deeds,
yeah. Gives Dirty Deeds to Seth Rollins and takes the title. And I was going bananas, honestly.
I bet you were.
You don't normally see cool things when you go to wrestling pay-per-views traditionally. And when some of those things happen and you're there, it's pretty special. All 3 members of the Shield were the WWE champion at one point in that evening. Isn't that a weird thing to think about? In fact, they were all champion within the space of 5 minutes.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, like I remember watching this one, and this was what made me like Dean Ambrose, because I was always a fan of Rollins. I was a fan of Roman Reigns in the Shield days. I then went totally off Roman Reigns, and I've now become a fan of him again. But this was what made me like Dean Ambrose. Yeah. I never bought into the lunatic fringe character, but that music when it hit and he came out and he's just raring to go, and then Rollins gets up and he just very, very quick, Dirty Deeds, done.
It was insane. You know, it wasn't the most insane thing that happened at that pay-per-view. If you don't forget as well, Titus O'Neil made out with his own son. But it was a pretty awesome night, you know? Yeah, it was that night. How was I at that pay-per-view of all the pay-per-views? I know.
That's not the first time you made me laugh with that delivery of Titus O'Neil making out of his own son.
He
and
did
I doubt it'll be the last.
Go on YouTube it, guys, because Titus O'Neil made out with his own son at Money in the Bank 2016. He actually had a United States title match against someone. I can't remember who it was. And he made out with his son on the way to the ring. Watch it. All right, with that said, who's your number one?
Got me. So my number one, and it is, I know it was spoiled for you by reading too much and seeing spoilers, but my number one on the biggest stage of them all, WrestleMania 33, I want to say, WrestleMania 32. One of them, it was Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar in the main event, and both men were down, and you hear Seth Rollins' music come on. The same night he had lost to Randy Orton earlier in the night, and taking that massive RKO after he'd gone for the curb stomp, and he was in the air on a big RKO, which was an awesome looking finish. And he just bolts out from behind the screen. And at the WrestleMania, they've got these long walkways. It takes like the wrestler 5 minutes to get to the ring for every match. And he sprints down, holding his case, hands over the briefcase, and then goes to curb stomp Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar catches him and puts him in the F5, or puts him up for the F5. Roman Reigns goes through with a spear. Rollins lands on his feet, bounces off the ropes, curb stomp, 1, 2, 3, and Rollins is out of there. Awesome. He's up the ramp, and then he does the iconic swinging of the belt, which has become pretty synonymous with Seth Rollins. I think it's a really cool little thing that he does. But yeah, I remember watching it and just being like, oh my God, like 4 hours of this pay-per-view, I was done, I was knackered, and I was watching a rubbish main event between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And that in an instance made it the coolest thing of that night.
It's cool as well. I don't think there's been many cash-ins mid-match.
No.
Like normally they're after a match or after a beatdown, but this was in the middle of the match. So it was pretty cool.
And it made it a triple threat, didn't it? This has become a triple threat.
Are you a bit stupid in a sense for doing that as Rollins? You know, like, why don't you just wait till the moment that Brock Lesnar's asleep somewhere in a corner of a lunchroom or something? Why take on two opponents? But yeah, it was pretty cool. I can't deny you that one. No,
it was awesome. It was awesome. So the last bit we've got is the homework, and I know that it's our students' favorite about us. It's something we enjoy, and we enjoy swelling up on. I actually, in my moment of need, I'm telling you, no Wi-Fi in 2021, and you don't know what to do with yourself. So what did I do? I went back to basics, and I read a book, or started rereading a book.
Wow!
And that book was Second Nature by Ric and Charlotte Flair.
Didn't even know that.
Have you read it?
No, I didn't even know about it.
It's really, really good. So it's written from both their perspectives. Written from her perspective of when she was young and Ric Flair was away, and there's some real sort of intricate details and very emotive details. And Ric Flair and what he was doing and how he wasn't being a good father. There's some real poignant bits about when Charlotte's brother and Ric Flair's son passed away due to an overdose, and how Ric Flair basically he didn't know what to do. I didn't realize Charlotte Flair was also in the same kind of world as Ric Flair. She was kind of down and out and wasn't working, wasn't doing anything, was depressed. This is all spoken about in the book, and it humanizes the two characters, because they're both people that I like. I like Ric Flair. I like Charlotte Flair. I'm not a big fan of Charlotte Flair, the wrestler, the character, but it humanizes them, and it's a really, really good, interesting read. So I'd highly recommend that. Second Nature by Rick and Charlotte Flair.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. Does it have a chapter at the end where he gets Lacey Evans up the duff?
No, but that will probably be in the re-release in a couple of weeks.
Makes sense. Okay, well, I'll have to check that one out. My bit of homework this week is a new series that's just come out called Young Rock. It's been released on NBC, and I've actually, done the naughty pirated version and downloaded. I've only seen the first episode, but I know that 2 are out at the moment. It's about the Rock's childhood and growing up in the industry, because obviously his father is Rocky Johnson, quite an acclaimed tag team wrestler in the 80s. And also it's basically the Rock at the beginning, and he's running for president of the United States, and he's talking to, can't remember the guy's name, but it's that famous Asian actor. Can't remember his name, but he's in a lot of things, Fresh Off the Boat and some other things.
Okay, I know who you mean.
Park.
Yes.
Randall Park. And anyway, it's sort of like them having a bit of an interview about his presidential race, and it's current day Rock, Dwayne Johnson, or actually future day Rock, because it's set from 10 years from now. And he's now recounting memories back of his childhood and why he's doing the things he's doing in his presidential race. And it goes back to his childhood. It goes back to his teenage years, and then it goes to his college years. So 3 sort of incarnations of the Rock. And that's really cool. And obviously, some things are fabricated, but it still has a lot of basis on reality. Shows you a bit of a behind the scenes of what it was like to probably be a wrestler in the 80s and be the son of someone who's an iconic figure like Rocky Johnson. It's got a few, no cameos essentially, but wrestlers being played by other people, which is quite cool to see. We've got Andre the Giant, got the Wild Samoans, Afa and Sika, one of them being Roman Reigns' father, I believe, and Rikishi's father, the other one. We've got Iron Sheik, Sheiky Baby. We've got Junkyard Dog. And also, I believe Randy Savage and Vince McMahon are both going to be in future episodes as well. So pretty cool. It was quite entertaining. It wasn't such a cheesy sitcom. I know I did a sitcom last week in the Big Show, but this is a lot better. And I don't know, have you seen it, Luke?
I've not. I've seen lots about it. Like a couple of weeks past, I was watching a lot of the NFL playoffs, and it was getting a lot of commercial time. Like it was being advertised every single commercial break. So yeah, I'll give it a look. It did look like one of these rubbish American sort of junk TV.
It's good.
But I'll trust you. You did let me down on the big show. On the big show, but I'll trust you on the Young Rock.
Young Rock, check it out. Honestly, it's quite entertaining, and it's a bit of a behind the scenes look. The guy who plays Andre the Giant's brilliant as well, and I think he's going to be one of the more featured other wrestlers in the series. So I believe he was like a surrogate kind of uncle to the Rock growing up. Yeah, good friends with Rocky Johnson. And yeah, who knows who'll pop up on the show. It's a good little watch. Nice. Okay, well, that's it.
That is. I think that may have been a quick one. I think that may be under the hour.
You never know your luck in a big city. But it was number 11. We're in the double digits. We can't go back to that now. Who knows the format going forward, if we'll keep it Wednesdays or not. But I think for the meantime, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, the Wednesdays work for me. Wednesday work very well. Just like with teaching right now, everything is it's all over the place. There's no real standard schedule, so it's just nice when we can both find time together to sit and chew the fat.
Well, if we get one out a week, we'll find a time to do it. The only thing I feel is when it's a pay-per-view week, it's kind of awkward because we're talking about something that's already happened prior and things like that. But yeah, whatever. We'll give it a go. We'll see. If you've got a problem with us doing it on Wednesdays, tell us about it in the comments below.
Like and subscribe.
Talking to you, Dan Dubley. Talking to you, Ryback.
You're so brave behind a camera. Behind a camera.
No. I know. Oh, well, how about we just say goodbye and we'll see you all next week.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. See you next week. Cheers, Shrek.
Guys.